Have you ever wondered what it takes to run one of the most respected dance music labels in the world and still keep it evolving year after year? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into in today's episode. My guest today is the COO of Toolroom Records, a label that's not only defined the sound of tech house, but also built a global reputation for quality, consistency and artist development. From signing chart-topping records to running international events and education programs, he's at the centre of it all. We talk about running a modern label, how Toolroom balances underground credibility with commercial success, and what it takes to stay relevant in an ever-changing scene. Welcome to Beats Learning. Before we jump in, if you're enjoying the podcast, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves dance music, runs a label, or simply wants a peek behind the curtain of how the industry really works. Well, now that's done, it's a pleasure to introduce Miles Shackleton. So Miles, welcome to Beats Learning.
Thanks so much for having me, Ben. Great to be here.
Absolute pleasure, absolute pleasure. So look, Miles, we've got a lot to cover today because you've had an incredible journey at Toolroom and you've done a lot there, and as I say, there's a lot of really exciting things to talk about. One of the things I always like to start with, though, is how music was developed in your life. You know, where did your passion for music start with?
Oh gosh, do you know what? I've never been asked that before, but it was actually from my uncle. So my parents weren't like that into music, and it's funny because it's like it is my obsession in life. Like every single spare penny I have goes on records. All my spare time is thinking and listening to music. But my uncle in Ireland, he bought me an album by Massive Attack called Mezzanine, and I think it was on I want to say like my 12th birthday or something like that. And I vividly remember getting the CD and opened it up, and it was this bright orange disc. And I put the music on, and it sounded like, I don't know, like aliens landing from outer space. I'd never heard anything like it before. It's actually the opening chords of, it's Angel, isn't it? It's the first track on. It's like this like really ominous bass line that comes in, and I was just completely hooked about music discovery from that point on. So I always credit him with like my career because he's this obsessive like music fan, and I think I probably get it from him. Yeah,
I've actually got a very similar story.
Oh, really?
I hate doing that scenario.
Yeah.
But I actually got into music through a CD my granddad bought me.
Oh, cute.
He bought me he bought me the wrong CD, and it just happened to be Clubber's Guide, the first Clubber's Guide to Ibiza, Ministry of Sound album. And really randomly on the second CD was Disco Babes from Outer Space.
Oh, hilarious.
So, a nice little link.
So what was he trying to buy you then?
I can't remember, something like could have now 42
or
something.
Him. So he's gone straight in on the niche dance.
Don't get me wrong, he's absolutely pioneered the rest of my life.
Yeah, I love that.
That's good. So where did then it come from then? So you've grown up, you've got this passion for music. When did that start sort of kind of being part of your life? What did you start doing?
I guess like it was a really good time for music, the 90s, late 90s.
Absolutely.
And there was just a real interesting mix of different artists. But I suppose two things kind of happened. I went to university in Bristol, and I chose Bristol actually because it's where Massive Attack is from. That was the kind of extent of my thought process. But that's a real melting pot of different musical influences. And I think when I got there, that's when my kind of journey of music discovery really happened. And like a lot of students, I went out and went to different club nights and tried promoting some club nights and just really got involved.
Amazing.
And then secondly, like I'm from a town called Maidstone, which you know well as a fellow Kent boy. And randomly Maidstone has a really rich history in house music.
It really has,
and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because, I don't know, maybe it was like the raves back in the day. A lot of them were sort of done by like these big larger than life characters that were from Maidstone, and it's been passed down the generations. But my local club in Maidstone would have amazing house DJs play all the time. So it just became a rite of passage.
Source Bar, is it?
Yeah, there was Source Bar, and before that, like, you had the Loft, and then there was River Bar.
Yeah.
Big DJs, like, you'd have, like, I don't know, like John Carter or Carl Cox, or like even, I mean, but Eric Murillo came to Maidstone.
Wow.
You know, it's just so like these massive acts. So I kind of got the bug for house music too, and like a lot of people, wanted to then go to a record shop and buy records and get decks, and then you're in the subculture of house music and it becomes addictive and you're kind of off then.
Absolutely. You start doing all the crate digging, start learning the underground. Next thing you know, you're one of the few that know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that classic super fan scenario.
Exactly, right? Yeah, it's your tribe. So.
Because then that led on, and I don't want to jump on too quickly.
Yeah.
But I know there was a beautiful little story of actually how you met Toolroom. To do with wanting to pick up a vinyl, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it is a really random story. So as I said, I got into house music and then I'd gone to Bristol University, so I was away from home, and I'd spend a lot of my time trying to find records, and there was actually a mix CD that came out on a Mixmag print edition by another Maidstone person called Nick Fanciulli. He did a DJ mix and he had a track on there called Filthy House by Mark Knight, and it's in brackets Toolroom.
Amazing.
And I couldn't find that record in shops, so back then, and this would have been like 2003ish, I think. I would gone on, I don't know if Google existed then, in Yahoo or something.
I was going to say, AOL.
AOL, Ask Jeeves.
I
went on and to try and find Toolroom Records, and there was like this website saying coming soon, email Stuart at Toolroom Records for more info. So I did that. I was like, look, I don't want to sort of let this off you. I just want to buy this record. Please tell me how. And he was like, do you know what? Like, you're the first person that's ever emailed us because we've just launched this site. Let me send it to you. What's your address? Amazing. So I said, well, I'm not at home right now. I'm at uni, but send it to my home address, which is, and I gave it. And we were like, he was like, hang on, right, that's next door to me. So I grew up in Maidstone, like I said, and Mark Knight and Stuart Knight, who set up Toolroom, their parents owned the house next door to my parents. Amazing. And so the Toolroom, which is this shed that Mark put his studio in, that was actually directly opposite my childhood bedroom.
Wow.
So I actually vividly remember, like, he took years of time of graft and honing his craft, and he really put his hours in. And I remember studying for my A-levels and hearing this incessant noise, like, late at night where he's, like, producing. And my dad used to get so annoyed with it as well. He used to go around and like, turn it off, which is weird to think now that, you know, now I'm there. But, so, yeah, it was a really random situation. And, is it fate? I don't know. It's such a strange one. That quite niche, obscure record was made so close to me. But that was Maidstone so random like that.
Yeah. I don't think it's one of those things. Maybe you liked it because you'd been subliminally groomed for so many years.
Yeah, exactly.
By Mark and Stuart,
exactly.
Now, fair play. So then you started working with them off the back of that, right?
It was kind of, I mean, I was just finishing my degree and I didn't really know, I didn't have a plan as to what I was going to do. I did a completely different degree to music. I studied politics. I didn't have a plan. I thought I might end up working for a bank or like an ad agency. Like a lot of people, like, you just kind of, you get a good degree and then off you go into the corporate life. And I don't know, there was something in me that fought that, and I didn't want it. Okay. And so I stayed in touch with Stuart, particularly over email after we first met, because it was such a funny story. And then when they learned that I was like available for work because I'd graduated, he said, oh, why don't you just come round and do a bit of like interning and we'll pay you a bit of like a bit of fun money, a bit of beer money. And this was really in the nascent days of the label when it was just so like very much a startup. So I can't tell you how junior my job was. I mean, like, there's levels and I was like right at the bottom. But that was my foot in the door. Yeah.
Fair. So what was it like back then? Obviously, like, I know we'll get into this in a bit more detail later, and what the reputation and the brand of Toolroom is now. But go back 22 years. What was it like?
Well, it was. I mean, it was literally in someone's house. It was like,
really?
It was, so it was their mum and dad's house. There's an outside shed where Mark had a studio, and then we were based in their study, a tiny little room, like all desks crammed together. And it was just, it was really like almost an innocent, there was an innocence to it. It was like, the money in it wasn't great, like, but back then you'd make £1 per vinyl.
Oh, really?
And you know, a really successful record for us back then would have done like 5,000 units, right? And imagine you're doing 12 releases a year. Yeah, cool. That's not a lot of money
60 grand,
for like 3 people working there full time, and you'd maybe get the odd license deal here and there to like a comp, like a military comp or something like that, and that might be your bit on top. But then not all records did 5,000. Quite a lot of them did a lot less. So it really wasn't a money thing. And so there was a kind of innocence to it. And I think it was just like, we were just, well, it was, I say we, it was their business. They were doing it for the love. And I don't think there was necessarily any expectation it would make them millionaires.
Really?
And I think when I reflect back about that time, it felt like, you know, that thing of like, we're all just trying to chance a life that isn't boring. Like, we're trying to do something that is just fun. And what I feel about that time and what it's taught me is that music doesn't owe me anything, and it is a privilege to work in music. You know, it really is. And back then it was just like, can we make enough money to pay our wages and boom, and do something fun? Because we could, like, I could be working in a call centre or something, you know. No disrespect to that, but this is just a fun way of trying to have a different life.
Absolutely.
Of doing something we absolutely love. And it's obviously, the industry's grown and changed a lot since then, but that's what I remember. It was just lots of records, lots of fun, lots of characters, trying to squeeze a living out of doing something really fun. And of course, that's not to say, like, they had an incredible vision for where they wanted to be, and they had an incredible skill of building a sound from scratch, and they quickly got a great reputation.
Yeah.
But it felt quite just loose and fun and free, you know.
Yeah. Because you stayed in music from there, right? You went over to I for a number of years.
Yeah.
Now, where did that transition lead? You know, what was that? What was the purpose of that?
So I did 6 months for Toolroom. As I said, I say I made the team, but the boys always say I never made a tea. I mean, I think I made one tea, and it was so bad that they never asked me to do it again.
Best way to never get asked again.
Exactly.
Mate. Absolutely.
I really remember
them for thinking.
Yeah. I remember them saying that, Miles, this is like soup. What have you done? But it was really early on, and I wanted to be in London because I'd been in Maidstone my whole life, and I'd been to uni. So I met Anna Neville now, who is actually a really powerful lady in the music business now, but she was like a marketing manager at a label called I Industries. I Industries was an independent but had a deal with Universal. So if it had a big record, it would upstream to Universal, and I think that they had a bit of equity in the label, and records that we did. So
basically they stole the successful ones.
Basically, yeah. That was the major label's mentality. Still is. But we did tracks like The Weekend by Michael Gray, Body Rocks, these like quite anthemic records, which a lot of people know. But my job was, again, quite junior, and I worked my way up to be like label manager there.
Amazing.
But, you know, like, reflecting on it, I don't think I made a success of that, because I left music for a while after that. So I don't necessarily frame that period of my career as massively successful. Which I'm happy to tell people, because I think when
that's
people see
part of the journey, though, right?
100%,
yeah, absolutely,
100%. And people see like sort of job titles like mine and think, you know, you're always like, you have a plan, and things go wrong. And
absolutely.
But the music industry back then was a tough time, because it was like pre-digital, post-physical. It was this real dip. And the other thing I found about it at that time was I kind of fell into marketing. I did one bit of A&R in my life, which was I did the Body Rocks thing, which I always think is quite cool.
That was an I, right? Yeah.
That's so I always say I've got 100% strike rate in A&R, which I tell my colleagues all the time. But I fell in. Sorry
to jump in. It's really, obviously, knowing you coming here today, I started kind of just glancing over what they released and everything like that. And then literally I was like, oh my God, they did Body Rocks.
Yeah.
Bravo, mate. I like it.
So what I did there is I got the D Ramirez to remix the original, which is the one that went, and then we got a vocal over it, and it was a massive record, that. But my job really was more marketing, and back then, marketing was more convincing gatekeepers. Like, it was all about press, radio, TV.
Yeah.
And to do that well, you just had to be quite like a big personality, quite demonstrative, super confident. And I remember back then looking at like successful people doing that, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be like that, because I was a bit quieter and a bit more introspective, and so I didn't feel like there was a sort of route for me in music. Then when I came back, it was different. It had grown and it had changed, and I had more of a kind of, I could be me and be successful.
Well, as you say, there's at that period, right? You had two big major changes.
Yeah.
As you say, from physical to digital. And actually, this was a beautiful conversation I had with Alex Branson.
Yeah.
One of the early episodes when we were talking about that sort of kind of that really weird period where that physical fell off, but digital hadn't picked off, so it was like it was just dead. But then also what you've got is the sort of introduction of social media in a much broader and more accessible way.
Yeah.
So once again, you've kind of been battling from many sides there, mate. So I'm not surprised. So what did you do? And obviously I appreciate you ended up leaving.
Yeah.
But like in that scenario, you're battling with potentially a bit of imposter syndrome and just that doubt. Was there anything that you did to try and overcome that, or how did you take on the challenges?
I remember like one of my main jobs was to try and get press, and back then press could make or break a record, because
Absolutely,
we were chatting earlier about how you love Ministry magazine, and that like culture was different pre-social media because it was more like mass market, like mass like that smaller, as I say, smaller amount of gatekeepers deciding what's successful or not. I'm not saying this is bad or good. It's just that's how it was.
Yeah.
So my job was to achieve press. How I battled that kind of, as you say, imposter syndrome or being a bit quieter was I'd be so much more prepared and organised, and I'd be so much more diligent in things like press releases and pitches. Like I'd over-prepare them. I do more work than anyone else.
Yep, fair.
And because I couldn't necessarily rely on going out and my black book or picking up the phone and being really like, this is what you need to cover. Like, that just wasn't me. Like I was so much more quiet than that. And in some ways, like where my education didn't really relate to my career, my chosen career, my education was very much about being diligent and like weighing up both sides and being really considered. Like that was what a politics degree teaches you, but it doesn't teach you to then go like own the room, come and own the room and be that person. So I couldn't do it. So it was a case of just like I'd write the most detailed pitches and be like the most like attention to detail and professional. But even then, I still think it was totally a contacts game. Back then, I just read this really good book by Ralph Moore about the Mixmag journalist, about like his kind of career at Music magazine and then Mixmag, and it was all about like those parties and going out and being in the crowd and being in that network. And if you weren't in that space, then it was harder to kind of to be in marketing like that.
Yeah, of course.
So
Is that something then you carried on through into when you come back to Toolroom? And once again, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but obviously going through that, having to, as you say, put in the extra graft, put in the extra effort so that you can stand out, even despite potentially having any sort of imposter syndrome setbacks or anything like that. Is that something you still do now, or is it, is there other lessons you've learned that you've developed into how you do things now?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Do people really change that much from like 25 to 40? I think we're kind of, for me, I'm kind of inherently the same person. Maybe there's taking some of the rougher edges off, and I think with age you get a bit more confident and maybe care a bit less about how you're perceived and things like that. But I think fundamentally I'm the same person, and I would, like, even for this podcast right now, I'd have prepared more than the person before me, just because I'd be like, I'd want to know what the questions are.
Absolutely,
and I'd want to come ready. Yeah. And that's always been my thing. It's like, if I can't just rely on that kind of extrovert sense of, as I say, just like, then I will prepare more than anyone else.
I like it.
So that's kind of how I am. But equally, there is a sort of performative aspect to confidence, I think. Like you can learn to fake that a little bit.
Absolutely,
I guess that's kind of where I'm at. But I fundamentally don't think I've changed that much. It's just, I think the industry changed enough that someone like me with my skills could come in and do some good work.
Nice. I
didn't feel that in like 2006. Yeah. But when I rejoined the industry 2013, I saw it in front of me and I thought, okay, here we go, let's go.
So let's bring the question up then. What did bring you back?
I got a phone call from Stuart and Mark's dad, Ken, and he's like, he's 83, 82 now. He's still our chairman at Toolroom. Yeah, he is. He's like, he's still across the business. He basically, his story was rock drummer, set up and then exited quite a few businesses, so quite a successful guy. And then he's kind of passed down a lot of that to his sons, and there's a lot of his DNA literally in Toolroom. And so he and I got on well. We were next door neighbours. Obviously I worked for them for a brief while. And just randomly out of the blue, they called me 2013 and they were like, we know you've worked in marketing in different like industries. We've got to a point with Toolroom where the business is bigger than the brand, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So we need someone to come and be a brand manager. And when I look back at that, I go, why did they ask me? Like, there must have been, like, honestly, like 50 better people qualified than me at that point who'd been in music. I guess it's like that family loyalty thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
we are, Toolroom family.
Exactly.
Toolroom family, yeah.
And it's weird that, because it was such a kind of, I didn't think my life was going that way. And I literally remember being on a bus and seeing a load of Tottenham fans, because I'm a West Ham. I literally remember it, and then I was like, I was getting annoyed with them, and then Ken called me and he was like, look, we're looking for you to come back. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And never looked back. So it was just a phone call out of the blue and like their loyalty, and I was in. But yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a beautiful segue then into actually what you are doing now.
Okay.
What you've been doing at Toolroom recently. We'll come on to your current role in a sec.
Okay.
But obviously you originally brought on to do the marketing, exactly as you say. And to throw it out there, you've over the last sort of kind of 10, 12 years have built it to over 1 million followers across your socials and just stats after stats after stats.
Yeah.
How?
I mean, gosh, yeah. I mean, what I will say first of all, right? If I say I a lot, it is we. Like, it's 100% team effort. So I have to caveat that. There's been a lot of people involved in it. But what, I guess, so as I said, the context was the business was bigger than the brand. By that, I mean the sort of financial success of Toolroom and its wins musically were not resulting in fan base and brand equity and like the kind of awareness of what Toolroom is. So you'd often have people playing Toolroom Records and then there wouldn't be a path from that to then a fan hearing it and then being part of the brand.
Okay.
So my job, that was a situation, and that's what I needed to fix. What we did was, the first thing I did was like a quite a big rebrand. First of all, like the product was amazing. Like the A&R at Toolroom has always been top notch. And when I joined in 2013, you had some anthems there already: Red Face, Downpipe, Roadkill, Dubfight, like loads of stuff from Fetty, like really anthemic records. It had they tasted, I think, a bit of commercial success from music. As I said, like in the context of selling 3,000 vinyls, right? That's an amazing journey to go on, but the space between the releases had gone from like too far, deep house to EDM, and it was too broad. And like a lot of people at this time, I'd read a book by Seth Godin. Tribes.
Love it.
And I think that was released like, I want to say 2008, 2009, and it was, that book basically says like, you can now, people want to be led. And they want to feel part of something and be led. And there's a space for brands to come in and create tribes. And this was when social was just popping off. And I think Toolroom needed a bit more definition. It was too broad. So what I suggested we did was revert back to the core, like love, which is house and tech house. Shave off a bit of the more commercial ends of EDM. Wrap that up in a campaign that says we're starting again, called Reset. And that's like, I look back and that's sort of arrogance of youth. I was like 31, but yeah, let's do this. Let's not do all the big commercial stuff. But I think it concentrated the business. It created a better sense of identity. We really executed a good brand campaign. Like the basic brand architecture of Toolroom is the same now as it was when we rebranded it. So it's really, it's stood the test of time. So yeah, consistency in music, messaging, a refresh look, that is what built our followers and created that fandom.
Well, it's definitely the community feel that you guys have gone after, right?
100%.
So, you've definitely been successful there.
I think so. And then there was some big big music releases like Feel My Needs by Vice, like a massive hit.
Of course.
Left Wing
Platinum from BPI.
Yes,
Yep,
Platinum. Left Wing Cody, I Feel It. That's Silver. You know, like some big anthems, and then we were doing some quite big events like Tomorrowland, like big US tours. That all built our audience.
Absolutely.
To your point, community is a really another interesting angle of the brand. And what we did is we really looked inward. We did a lot of focus groups with our fans, and we learned that. I remember we did this, like, we had all these focus groups with fans, and we'd write sort of common words down on Post-it notes, and whenever there were certain things that kept coming up, I'd use the same colour, so you'd always have like a visual heat map of values. And one word that kept coming up at Toolroom was approachable, which isn't something you necessarily always associate with a record label.
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
And so we thought, okay, that's different, that's unique. We are, and we are quite approachable, because if you call Toolroom up, it could well be Mark or Stu that answers the phone. When Mark gets in, he's like getting around a bruise for everyone, even though he might have been gigging all weekend. He's like, first put the kettle on. When fans come to us, we welcome them into our space. We're not aloof, we're not above them. It's approachability, and we built a kind of brand identity around our personality called Toolroom Family, and we started doing more like in-person, like exclusive events. And that's a big part of like getting to 1 million followers online is also about looking after 1,000 people incredibly well. That's what people sometimes forget, because those 1,000 tell another 20,000.
Oh, absolutely.
So
okay, so you've done the rebrand, you've built this community, this family spirit, and obviously then that's kind of really helped you launch this new, better reputation, this kind of building it to the size of the business, as you say. But what's the actual sort of marketing behind that? Where do you then start looking? Is it obviously outside of kind of doing your events and stuff, when you now look at the social media age that we're in now, how do you develop that into something digital and something people are going to look at in the course of 2 seconds on a short, for example? Where did you start to sort of kind of build that in, and how does it work?
So it is about like herding people to your online communities. And I guess, you what would happen is people might go to an event or listen to a track on Spotify, see the big T, what's that, what's Toolroom, search on Instagram, which is where it mostly is now, and they see our community. It's about making consistently amazing content that makes people want to stop scrolling and feel something, like engage with it, share it, talk about it, comment, like. And you need a kind of consistent pipeline of that type of content, and we have a team that does that all day long. Not selling things all the time as well.
Of course,
it's storytelling at all times. And it's changing all the time. To Ben, like back then, if I go like rewind back to when we just did the rebrand, it almost was a lot easier. It was like you just made beautiful assets. An after movie might be of an event would be like a slow-mo of something on a wristband, and then they're going through, and it's like, hey, it's a slow-mo of someone dancing and the DJ, and it's popping off, and that people would watch that for a minute. Whereas now you've got them for a second, and then they're off. And if they see something that looks like marketing, they're not interested, because they have this perfection fatigue. It's just like people are bored of perfect content. So it's completely changed, and it's now it needs to look rough and ready and authentic. So the execution of it has changed over the years, but the basic point is you're welcoming people into your world building, really. And storytelling at all times, and that's what people latch onto. And then obviously commercially, if you've got a big online audience, mostly on social, then when you're doing commercial things like selling music, that's your route to market now. Like I said before, it used to be about getting press, getting radio. You didn't own it. You had to go through a gatekeeper. Now we own it. We own our community.
So how do you, as you said, I love your point about trying to avoid selling. Because obviously, look, that's a completely different message what you're going for. But knowing that you've got all these different platforms seen by so many different age groups, especially with the likes of Toolroom, as you say, okay, it might not have been the business it was back then, but it still had some phenomenal releases and things like that, and was absolutely growing. So you've got fans from different generations. How do you come across authentic? How do you make sure that your message is really portraying what you want it to say?
Yeah, that is the authentic word. Is like, it's the word of the moment, isn't it? Being authentic.
Not jumping on any bandwagons.
No, you're right to, because it's what people are striving to be right now.
Well, it's just trying to about setting yourself apart, right? Because these days with the algorithms, obviously, once again, that's another question for us to consider in a second. You know, how does marketing when you're trying to do something like that? How do you build that into the algorithms that people, that TikTok or whatever it is going to show? But then once again, coming back, not only have you got to take that into consideration, but then your message, and then once again, trying to make that still with all that still seem authentic.
Yeah, I guess it's like. The heart of the record label is about the purpose of Toolroom is releasing music that DJs play at weekends. That's the point. That was like when Mark and Stu started it. They wanted it to be a label where you'd walk into a record shop and it's an old analogy because people don't really do this anymore, but see it laid out and you go, oh, that's a new Toolroom one. Or like as you would with Defected back in the day, and Subliminal, whatever label you love. Because the DJ wants it to save the party. When the party's flagging, you're like, what do we do? Toolroom record, bang, bang. That's the point of Toolroom. So when we make content and tell stories and release music and do parties, it's all somehow got to feed back to that feeling and that moment. That's who we are. That's us being authentic. It's like telling stories around that. So if we're doing something in that feeling, and then within that, like, is it inspirational, is it educational, is it cool? They're kind of like the three things I would like grade our authentic content by. But as you say, I think the challenge now is with everything changing so quickly and algorithms, we're in a funny place right now, I feel, honestly, with socials, because I think it used to be a case of standing out, and I honestly think now it's a case of fitting in.
Well, the thing is, there's so much noise, right? And obviously, not just talking about social media, even for you a Toolroom releasing a track. I think there's like 100,000 new tracks a week on Beatport.
Yeah.
It's 140,000 new tracks on Spotify a day.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. You talk about fitting in. There's an element of it, I guess, but also if you want to be the one that someone is going to pick as that go-to tune, you do need to stand out as well, right? So it's a kind of once again that balance of everything. Just Toolroom just standing there with a load of plates.
It feels like that, I mean, to your point, there's so much music being released, and I have to say credit to Mark, George, and the A&R team is like, our music is of such, obviously biased, but of such high quality that it cuts through the noise, I think, a bit, because Toolroom has moments, it has hooks, it's their anthems, and they don't just, the A&R team won't just settle on putting out something tracky that doesn't really do much in 7 minutes. It has to have a story in a moment. But how you promote that music with that much volume is really hard. And it's changing, and years ago, or a couple of years ago, you'd put out a record, you'd say it was a really big record, you'd work really hard on like building it up. It would go out, you'd have really good assets, and then it would kind of go up the playlist pyramid on Spotify almost through editorial and algorithmic support. And the finish line would probably be, for us, a couple of weeks after release. And it would then go on and stream a long tail. But for us, you kind of done your job at that point. Now, like, we just released a record by Tony Romero called Time to Move. It's like us at our most commercial at the moment. The sort of record that would sit well on Mint on Spotify. But that's what we'd want it to. That's our aspiration. Whereas now you put that out on week one and it's like the job's just begun, really. Because the way digital strategies change for us is that it's almost like a volume gain of content. Like you have to honestly, every 3 days or so, invite people back in your world to experience the track again, and just, it's about repeatability of content. It's about volume of content, getting into content cycles. And the artist is the channel now for that, more so than the brand.
Fair. Yeah.
Whereas before, like Toolroom would take all on its shoulders to promo a record, really.
Absolutely.
And it could do that. Whereas now it's the artist and Toolroom, but the artist has got to repeat so much content all the time. So that's where we're at right now. It's a completely different challenge, is keeping that pressure on repeatability of content.
Does that make it more difficult for you in a sense of trying to make sure you're keeping the quality up?
100%.
Yeah. No, what are you doing to try and ease that pain, or what are you doing to keep that quality there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's hard. I mean, and it depends on the artist, because for some artists you can be really rough and ready and DIY with it, and they're actually getting really good success from just like a home setup with a camera and them at their desk making music and just reacting to it, and you just almost, it's the same video and over again with a different hook and caption. So and that can cut through. You see it on
TikTok all the time.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
But then, like for the Time to Move thing, what we did was there's so many good agencies out there now that you can get so much. There's so many creative people that are freelancing, that are making great work, and they understand the budgets that independents have. So with Time to Move, we had a really good concept, an amazing videographer, and we made like, whereas we used to make like one video that's like, this is the out now piece. Yeah. We made like 10 or 12 shorts, all within the same theme. So it's finding the right partners that can deliver you what you need, that's algorithm friendly, that's on budget, that's still cool and creative.
Yeah.
They're out there, but that's, as a marketing team, our job is to find those creators and work with them and build relationships with them.
Yeah. Do you find you have to change the way you market much based on the artist or the song itself? Even though like the actual branding of Toolroom's the same, do you have to blend, you have to change much to suit them?
100%. Like, because again, it's, back in the day, we'd have a sort of more standardization of our like creative. It would be like the Toolroom tee animated and the sound bed underneath, and bang, and that post was doing incredibly well. That will die now, because it will be anything too graphical, or again anything that looks like sales. People have this inbuilt filter. They're like, whatever next, because everyone could do that. Every company's like banging that at you. So now it's about digging into the artist and their story. And as you say, all artists are different. Like Tony Romero, French guy, got a bit of kind of like hip hop influence, got a bit of swagger about him. That's the look. You got someone like Anacel, who we met through our We Are Listening initiative. Yeah,
we'll come on to her later.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
She's in the agenda, mate.
Okay, good. It's much more around, in my opinion, her kind of, as well as her music, obviously, her personality, her humour, her directness, her charisma. Yeah. And so it's like less about, as I say, the aesthetic that Tony has, and more about her as a person. So and that actually has become the fun bit of marketing. Is like, it's become more about, okay, let's think about the artist, let's think about their DNA, and how can we get creative with that.
Yeah, I suppose it's once again just giving you a bit of diversity in what you're doing, right? So it makes each day a little bit different. So how does that work then? Hopefully I'm not covering the same question, it's in a different way, but I'm just curious. Yeah. So you've developed, or certainly adapted your marketing and the way that you're doing, putting that all that out there to more related to the artist. Yeah. But then how does that then develop? Because you've got this brand of Toolroom, so you need to sort of have that, let's say, that familiarity still in it. Where did you find the balance? How do you make the compromise?
God, that's such a good question, and that's something we reflect on a lot, because we really obviously Toolroom represents a sound, and Toolroom is like the parent brand of our sound. And we like to keep it there because we want people following the brand, of course. But I think that if you look at the trend of where music's going, you're seeing a lot of artists own their own IP. So I think if you saw the Beatport's latest best-selling labels of this first half of the year,
I was going to say 2025 was you.
Like last 2 years. We're third at the moment, and that's oh dear. Yeah, I know. God, come on, guys, we've got to finish strong here. But I think it's Experts Only's number one. So John Summit's label. So there's a trend of artists now owning their IP and labels, and there's a whole kind of thing where you can now set up your own label, and the distribution methods are a lot more friendly to DIY independence and that. So in some ways that's a threat to our model existentially, but what we've got to do is go with the time and go, let's relax a bit on pushing Toolroom.
Yeah,
we're 23 years in. People know who we are.
Yeah,
we don't have to keep stamping the tea on people's heads. Like, you've got to have that sort of confidence that people will find you. And also where we're at, and Mark will say this, Mark's been leading the brand for all this time.
Absolutely.
And his intention is obviously at some point to step away a bit more and have the other artists embody our brand. So when you look at what we're doing with Cruci, Estelle, Tony Romero, Martin Ikin, Kasim, they are now more than anything front of the shop window. Toolroom is as much about them as it is Mark, and that means us relaxing a bit on the kind of pushing Toolroom down the pipe, and it's about them being our brand. Like they embody us, they personify us.
So a bit of a digress question. What's happened to Wheats?
Wheats, he's smashing it. Like, so we found him through the academy.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come on to that properly in a minute. Which is what you was talking about, embodiment of like these up and comers. I remember a couple of years ago, he was just everywhere. Yeah. And I kind of felt like, I don't know whether it's me that's fell off the cliff or I haven't noticed. I don't know.
No, he's doing great. Like, he kind of changed his sound, so he was more aligned with Toolroom, and then I think because he was signed to us so young. Yeah. You kind of. You learn, don't you, about yourself? You took him over to Miami and all that, didn't you? Yeah. What a cool little time that must have been for that. It was awesome. And then I think, obviously, he really went after that more minimal sort of solid grooves. And fair. And it ended very amicably, and he's like, I want to go there, and that's my thing. But like, look, go do it, go smash it. We're so proud of you. Love it. So he's now... regularly playing solid grooves, DC10.
Amazing.
He's in that world.
Good work. Oh, I'm really happy for him. Or if you're watching, mate, come on the show. Tell us all about it. But okay, so let's move on to what you do now. Okay. You come through the marketing. Yep. Now you are Chief Operations Officer. Yes. Now I come from, my background is actually finance. I've mentioned it on the show a couple of times. So operations to me is something I've never really put with music. Clearly it is. What is your day to day? What do you do?
So I guess it's being the number two to the owners across the whole business. So anything that they want to see done is kind of on my shoulders to execute. And so it is truly very varied. I mean, it starts the year by I'd write the budget for the company and go, this is what I think we're going to do. Fair. And these are the growth areas. This is where I think we should invest. This is what the team should focus on. So there's that kind of top level projecting where we're going to go over that year. And then it's a case of you've got your kind of management team and you're helping them then achieve those targets. So it could be firefighting something like, I don't know, say if it's the academy, it's like we're not getting enough leads in for our to sell our educational courses. Like, what are we going to do about that? Or it could be... we are way off our target of growing our TikTok. What are we going to do about that? Or it could be we're kind of a bit tight on cash flow, so we need to find some new revenue opportunities in the short term. What can we do to make money quick? Oh, wow. So it is like so varied. It's
quite a 360 role. You're kind of getting
it is
an overview of the whole business.
It really, is. But as I said earlier, like, it is a team, and I'd hate to kind of project it's all on me, and it isn't. We have a really
We're talking about your role, by the way.
Okay, all right, okay. I'm just super conscious.
We all love the Toolroom team. I know Jamie, I know Pete.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I was good friends with Matt. Obviously, sadly, he's left now. I've known the guys down there for a long time.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know that.
I've been to Maidstone a few times.
Good to know. Okay, cool. So, it is like being, I guess, the number two to the founders and delivering across the business our targets. And so it can be really macro top level strategy. It can be like literally, we need to order some new plates for the office. It could be anything.
Amazing.
But so it's a good range. I like it.
So you really are the person that everything gets dumped on. So you're delegated everything, and then you delegate out and create the teams.
Exactly.
I love it.
Beautiful.
And is that where you would have seen yourself? Was it something you were trying to build to when you come back? Or was it something just happened?
It just happened. Like I never thought I'd get to that necessarily. Like I guess my main objective was get to be like marketing director.
Fair.
That was the kind of
Yeah,
point
yeah.
I thought I'd be, not my ceiling, but like that was all I really considered.
Yeah.
That's how I framed success. And then I think I got to the point where it was to really like push on in a small business, which I know Toolroom's seen as a big brand, but in the context of especially your role in finance, it is a small business.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to then bring in revenue to really push on. You've got to be someone that goes, right, I'm going to go and find us another 30%.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's where the academy came in. And then I think when I did that and that became a business in a business and I ran that, and then that suddenly wasn't enough. Like that wasn't enough of a challenge for me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been quite open with the guys about like my career development. And I was at that point. I was like, look, I want more. I want another challenge. Like I've done the marketing thing. I've grown the business with the academy. Like what's next? And that's when they gave me that role. It's like,
amazing.
So
now do everything.
Yeah, do the lot.
You want a real challenge?
I regret that conversation. So I guess it's like sort of stages of like confidence growth and from success that then led to more ambition and a sense of, oh no, I could do that actually.
I love it.
Yeah.
So look, yeah, it's a beautiful transition to the Toolroom Academy, but just before we come on to that, I just want to ask you one quick last question on the marketing. Are there any wins or fouls that sort of kind of really stick in your head and perhaps have even shaped the way that you now think or approach the, your marketing strategy?
Gosh, good question. I mean, I definitely think the Toolroom family stuff was really innovative and I'm really proud of it. And I think I sometimes, I don't know if this is just like a level of arrogance on my part, but I sometimes see other people's activations in dance music where they do things that sort of stem from that work we did. Like we did this, I talk about it a lot, but I'm proud of it. We did this thing, this like party in a pub one time for like I think it was our 500th episode of the Toolroom radio show. Yep. And it was like a private like lock-in at our local pub, and we decorated the pub with like all this Toolroom insignia, and we did like invites that were like beer coasters, and it was like this really cool fan experience. And people, I think at that time, weren't putting the effort into that because it was all about like amplification and like the Seth Godin thing, just build this massive tribe. And actually, that kind of work we did created such fandom for us that it sort of underpins the business, because those say 200 people are the first to buy a ticket or some merch. Absolutely. And then they tell their friends, and you have this intensity of fandom. So the Toolroom family stuff we did, I'm really proud of, and I think I reflect and I look back on that, and I think that was just really strong work. In terms of things that have gone wrong or failures, let me think. I'd have to think about that.
Okay, well, look, ignore the foul then. Let's live on a high. Let's keep you proud of what you've done. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's definitely not arrogance.
Okay.
If you see other people stealing your ideas, you're allowed to be proud. So let's talk about the Toolroom Academy. Okay. Now, getting to where it is now, I believe it is the only label-backed degree that you can get in music production.
Yeah.
To see where that's come from now, and obviously only launched in 2019, I believe. Right. First and foremost, where did the idea come from? And the reason not to sort of kind of overcook my question. Yeah. This is what this podcast is all about. And you've built this live sort of I believe it's like 7,000 members now. Yeah. This wonderful, phenomenally executed sort of kind of education piece of music to the point where you've now got it backed with Waterbear. Yeah, Waterbear. Anyway, where did it come from? Let me stop talking.
Yeah, no, it's great. I appreciate the intro.
I'm really excited.
That
honestly, it's phenomenal, mate. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ben. Yeah, no, so I guess it came about like a lot of ideas. It was like a lot of things at once happened that got us there. So the Toolroom audience, I said earlier, I think that the point of Toolroom has always been about like equipping DJs with tools for the club. Yeah. So we've always been more about the sort of DJ producer market. That's like naturally been our audience, more so than say your average, not average, like your general clubber that might just not know that much about it. We've always we've always spoken to that more specialist audience. So I remember when we used to put out like content about how to get your track signed to a label, it would get really high like engagement. And I'll be like, okay, that's a bit weird. Like that's doing so well. So that was always in my mind. I personally did this learning course with Google like a lot of marketers did in like I guess around 2016-ish, 2017. And it was like this online marketing course that was delivered by kind of industry experts, and it felt a bit fresh, and it wasn't your like typical off-the-shelf marketing program. It was like modern and innovative, and more importantly, I got a taste of a really high-end brand, getting education from that brand, because I really was like, I'd go get Google on my CV. That was the thing. Like my LinkedIn, I could like put Google. So it was that sort of sense of, okay, so brands that aren't educators are offering educational content, and that was like a thing for me. Like, okay, that's interesting. There's an interesting extension of a brand. And then we did this activation at ADE, at Amsterdam Dance Event, and we had Harry Romero come and do a live production session. Harry Romero being like an absolute legend in US house, and I remember watching people watch him. I'd never seen such levels of concentration in the iPhone era of people just locked in on someone. And there's actually a picture of me, like I'm stood at the side. I look a bit like, like Alistair Campbell, like when he's looking at Tony Black, that kind of like sort of spin doctor. But so you can always like see it in my head, like what I'm thinking. And so I was like, okay, there's this appetite to learn from the best. There's this innovative work going on in education and brands, and we have this audience of people that are exactly like this. So it all kind of came together like that, and it was a case of like building out products bit by bit, and working closely with my amazing colleague Pete Griffiths, who's this brilliant like A&R and mentor, and it's as much his success as anyone else's. And it's crazy how like it's now at a point with like 7 full-time staff and 7-figure business, and as you say, like thousands of students all over the world, genuinely. So it was a number of things that got us there, and then we just seized the opportunity. Because we were first.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we just.
Which you still, I suppose, from a label perspective, because you still have like Point Blank. Were you before them?
No. We were first of I'd say the industry.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because now everyone's got a school, like everyone's got an online course, and that's cool. Like, I love that. But we like I remember being in meetings and people going, are you sure we should be doing this? Because this education wasn't cool then. It wasn't cool, and it would be like, if you get this wrong, you're just also going to really annoy a load of our core customers. So there was risk attached. I was just so certain it was going to work. Like I knew it in my bones.
I think it's one of those things, as you say, you've had that sort of kind of dip the toe in the water scenario with the Harry Romero thing, seeing the engagement that had, and when you do you're doing your own thing, and you see the likes all fly up, and then let's be honest, people out there want to know, and they want it to be as easy as possible, especially as times change with things like YouTube. There's so many educational pieces out there. Actually, which one do you trust? I know when we had obviously very good friend of Toolroom, Mr. Andy McDougall, shout out buddy, on a few episodes ago, he was saying about people, the shorts he's seen where people were telling producers to glue the below end and all that, and he's like, no, don't do it. So actually having someone who, let's be honest, if you know the brand, you like the music, you want to release on that brand. If you're that type of person, what better way to be taught how to produce 100%. By the people that you want to release with?
Totally. And just like, we don't try and be anything other than a house music production school. So like what you'd often found in earlier electronic music production education was you'd have a room full of people or an online class full of people, some of whom are writing drum and bass, some of whom are writing house or trance, and that's cool. But like what it does, you have to then like totally level it out so it works for everyone, and then you get this really general education. You can't teach style like that. And so what we were getting all these demos in that were quite well made, but had no real understanding of things like sound choice, and like they didn't know why it wasn't right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where we found a win was we're house music education and nothing else. So we can really hyper focus on that, and people really appreciated that. So So yeah, it's been honestly, Ben, it's been the privilege of my life working at Toolroom Academy.
That's a beautiful
thing.
thing.
I love it.
And look, the rewards are coming, right? As you say, 7,000 people plus have joined up. That in itself says everything you need to hear about what you've achieved, right?
Yeah, thanks. It is awesome, and that 7,000. There's like some at the more intense end of like full on mentoring. Some of just people that have subscribed or they're part of the community through like watching tutorials. But it is that community word again. Like it's such a good community of creators, and that's one thing I've learned about education is like, because sometimes like with education you focus on the outcome, and actually it sounds really cheesy. It's the journey.
It's the journey.
It is.
Well, that's life, right? Not just this. It's not the 100%. Destination's one thing, but the journey's what makes it life,
totally.
right? Absolutely.
And unlocking creativity in people is just like, I don't know, like, what better is there? Like as a kind of business, can you like? We've had people that like, obviously we've had a lot of success in terms of people that have gone and got signed, and we can talk about that. But I actually care in a way. I'm more affected when you get emails from people that are like, I was like really going through a tough time, depression, mental health, and I took your program and it just like, it really helped me. Or we've had people that have like been ill, that have had cancer and stuff, and they're like, I just needed something for me.
It's like a release.
Yeah. And
a distraction in many ways as well, right?
Yeah. And it's just beautiful to be part of that.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, to be able to sort of kind of get feedback like that, education's one piece, but actually to know that they've done that course and let's be honest, music is an incredibly emotional thing anyway, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly being able to be given the tools to actually put your emotion into Cubase, Ableton, Logic, whatever you're using, and to express how you're feeling, phenomenal. But if you don't mind me saying though, what a beautiful spin for Toolroom. All you're doing is nurturing the next releases for yourself. So actually it's just like, we'll do this, we'll teach you how to be amazing, and then we get first pick. But that's also, like, for the release side, that must be, like, that's come on to some of the artists, You've had some incredibly successful artists come out. I've already mentioned Weeks, because he was a big favourite of mine a few years ago. Nice. And then obviously you dropped on Essel, who I believe come from the Academy, who's hit over 100 million streams, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Wow.
Smashing it. I know, it's amazing. I mean, with Soph, we met, so like obviously with the Academy you've got the commercial bits where you're like selling courses, and then you have the sort of more community stuff, like we do events and we meet people, we break that barrier down between labels and the industry. And then we have like a more diversity thing called We Are Listening, and we met Sophia SL through that.
Sorry, it wasn't Toolroom Academy, was it?
Well, it is Toolroom Academy. That's the reason why we do, like, I'm not sure we would have done or landed on We Are Listening if we hadn't have done the Academy. So it's an Academy activation. But yeah, 100 million streams. Phenomenal. She was she was our best-selling artist, I think, in 2024 or 23.
Amazing.
Like you can't argue with that.
Mate, that's phenomenal.
But and then you've got like, there's an artist called Luffy who released a massive track on Nervous the other year, and that was like, he came through the Academy. You've got Camille, who she's did a Boiler Room the other day.
Amazing.
And these people like started music with us.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like, and we regularly sign our student stuff to either one of our compilation albums or Toolroom tracks. And some of them make it all the way up to the main label, like Cell has. So
amazing.
Yeah, so it's an amazing talent pipeline, as well as being like a beautiful community as well. So.
Well, coming back to it, you mentioned a point a second ago about obviously the commercial viability as well. Because I think probably one of the morals of this conversation today is trying to find compromise and balance, right? Because once again, you're also, you want to make sure that it's genuine for the artist. Once again, that authentic word coming out. But you want it to be for them, guided to them. But also, as I say, it needs to be commercially viable for your Toolroom and everything as well.
Yeah.
Once again, where do you how do you blend that? How do you create that balance?
Yeah. I guess it's like, for me, being honest, you start with the commercial because we are a business where we have to pay wages and we have costs and overhead.
Of course, absolutely.
And so we get that wrong. I should say, actually, no, we start with the way I always figured it out with education was, figure out a model where in theory it works commercially.
Yep.
If you go, right, we're going to spend 1 and make 3. Okay, if that all like pans out how I want it to,
ROI.
the ROI is there. Forget that then. Focus on the product. Like, don't worry about the money. Focus on, I'm going to make the best product that's better than everyone else.
Yeah.
And focus on student experience. And then you launch that, and then you execute. And then you then can use that to then build and invest. So you go, right, okay, we've made some money this year. What are we going to do for our community? What are we going to do to give back to the scene? Let's do something. Let's not worry about like our target right now. Let's just do something really cool. And it's this constant, like, you know, I mean, my job is like, I always love making sure we've got enough money in the bank. We can then, everyone's good. We've hit our targets. And then it's over to the team to do. And that it's not that they just focus on the fun stuff at all, because they're grinding it out and hitting their numbers. But I always start by going, we're going to be responsible and make our numbers in. But yeah, you're right. It's a balance, because you can get greedy with education, and that's the thing. Like, because you're selling dreams, and you can overpromise, stack them high. You know, make a cheap product.
Absolutely.
And you have to resist that urge, because the thing with us as well, like, if we made a bad educational product, it's only going to reflect on the main brand. Like, it's our biggest thing that we're Toolroom Academy, not just Miles Academy. We're Toolroom Academy. But that also means we have a responsibility to do it right.
Absolutely,
So you can't just go, right, let's get 1,000 studios and just get them in and not care about it. So you have to really care, because you could easily exploit in that space.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's about developing the artist, but you know, taking the time to give them what they need. But as you say, there's that horrible balancing act. But that kind of lends itself, and I don't want to jump to this too quickly, but obviously you've got your club first, algorithm later concept as well. I'm going to park that for 1 second though,
fine.
because just before we do move on to sort of more A&R side, right? It'd be great to hear a little bit more about the partnership that you did with Waterbear. Obviously being the first label-backed music education for not once again, just Toolroom, just knocking down walls. When you know you've built the actual program itself, but then to turn it into a physical degree. How did that start? How the hell did you manage that?
Totally. Like, I guess, like, I've always been on this like absolute mission with the academy. Like, I kind of handed it over now to a team, but it's always my baby, and I was like, you've got to just be a force of nature of things and just push on and innovate. And I was never like, I was obsessed with the next thing, and like, in a way, like, warding competitors off the space, because I was like, you're not going to get anywhere near me, because I'm going to write, you know, we've smashed the online stuff. What's next? And you see, higher education is such a big booming sector. Waterbear are an incredible university. So the founders of Waterbear are the people that set up BIM. Have you heard of BIM? That's like a massive music school. And, you know, have got many like huge artists have come through BIM. Then it was Bruce who set up Waterbear to be like the kind of, I guess, the more indie version. If BIM was like the major, Waterbear's the indie.
I like it.
And I was like, I love that attitude. And they were looking to do like more innovative partnerships with industry, like not just come in and like swan around and meet some students, but get in and teach. And that was something I wanted to really get at as well. So we met and we really got on. And they already had an existing electronic music business degree pathway. So what we did is we made some learning materials to level 4 education, which is undergraduate degree level.
Amazing.
And that was a whole interesting like intellectual challenge in its own right. Like, how do we adapt what we do to be within a natural kind of graded university framework? And I think it's about that kind of halo effect it has on the brand. Like, it's not, if I'm honest, a big part of our business.
Of course.
But what it is, it shows us how serious we are.
Absolutely.
It shows the world we care about education. When sorry to jump in, but
when I realised it was a fully fledged degree that you were now offering through Waterbear, and that's just like, wow, blew my mind. As you say, anyone can put on TikTok, but to come away going, yes, I have a Toolroom degree. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It really is.
Yeah, and we had our, like, someone recently graduated, was our first kind of Toolroom degree person, Nev. and he's doing great, and we actually signed his record as well.
Mm.
So
Amazing.
yeah, it's awesome. It's like, as I said, it's such a privilege working in this space, and you get to be innovative. And I think education used to just, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was a much more closed shop and more stilted and more dry. And I think there's some really interesting work in education now. Not just us, there's lots of people doing it and doing it really well. And
Agreed.
It's what an opportunity for new artists, and maybe we'll talk about that later. Like, is there more opportunity now than there was 20 years ago? Yes, in some ways. There's more barriers.
It's definitely more accessible.
It's more accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it? Do you have a higher chance of making it? That's a whole other debate.
Yeah. Well, once again, it's what we mentioned earlier about the noise, right? How do you stand out? How do you do
exactly.
it? So, just a quick one then, for anyone that is watching, that's listen to what we're saying and got, you know what, I need to learn. I need to be part of the Toolroom family.
Yeah.
How could they join either your your degree or alternatively your normal program course?
So it's pretty easy. I mean, we have our flagship program is called the Production Certificate, which is an online course where you log into a weekly live call with about 20 other students. You watch a step-by-step guide of, like, week one might be like, go write some drums. Then you're given an assignment, you hand that in, might be go away, write me 5 drum loops. We'll then give you A&R feedback on that. We'll pick the best one, and we'll move on to bass, and we'll build a track together like that.
That's cool.
So you need to have some basic ability on your DAW. Be able to write like a basic kind of maybe 16-bar loop. So if you can do that, then it's a case of just inquiring with us and having a conversation with our team, and we kind of see if you're ready.
Yeah.
We're like really keen to not sort of go, you're going to get signed in 3 months, because it doesn't work like that.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah.
But we're really boutique, although we've scaled it and it is a big business. At its heart, at its core, it's a boutique thing. Like everyone who comes through the program will speak to one of my colleagues, Maya or Cal, and it's a personal touch. Nice. and we have a conversation. All are welcome. All ages. And
I was about to say, obviously, being like the class size you have, do people need to apply and be accepted, or is it just anyone will get it eventually?
I mean, we would kind of point people to away from us if we feel that there may be their expectations or the pressure they're putting on themselves is too high. That's one thing we're really like, because you get people that have been doing this for a long time. Yeah. And have invested loads of money and effort, and they're like, I can't understand why I've not made it yet. and we no comment. But as I said earlier, it can be really easy to exploit in education and oversell.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course.
So we want to make sure that person's ready and has a kind of realistic expectation. And then, as I said, like threshold level, you've got to be able to use Ableton a bit, like not a complete beginner, because we're the wrong provider for that. We expect you to be able to use it a little bit. Yeah,
I must say I actually didn't use it in the end because you only did Ableton.
Oh, this is it.
I'm a Cubase man, I'm afraid.
Oh, really?
I'm a Cubase man is right there. And I noticed you didn't do a Cubase course. Oh, wow. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Maybe we should. I mean, it's funny because it's a whole other conversation, but like Ableton is just like over a period of time just completely dominated it, and everyone
it really has. Between that and Logic, anyway.
Yeah, even that. Like we used to run a kind of equivalent amount. And that's just all Ableton. Really.
Yeah, really.
So it's interesting, maybe because it's that ease of use and whatnot. So
it's definitely more user friendly.
It is.
I'm Cubase because Andy was the one that started teaching me. Excuse me, but. You know what? It's one of those things. I bought it and paid for it now, so I've got to use it.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if there might have been a better alternative because it's not the most useful. It's like you do need a degree just to understand half the buttons. Absolutely. So it's a crazy big kit. But anyway, let's move on to A&R and coming back to the quote: "Club first, algorithm later." Yeah. Tell us what that means.
I think it's. We embarked on a strategy, and this is very much led by Mark. We kind of hit a point, I think, post-lockdown, where we were releasing music to get streaming numbers and feed the algorithm. And I keep kind of going back to that point of like the purpose of Toolroom.
Absolutely.
Why it was set up.
Yep.
And as it's funny with businesses, like the bigger you get, sometimes you have to just keep going back to your core, your why.
Absolutely,
Because things otherwise can spiral quick.
You lose your sense of purpose, right? Absolutely.
And for us, we were like, during lockdown, obviously there were no clubs, so we were like, what we were going to do. So we started releasing more kind of like piano-y, radio-y type house. Still great,
but stuff you can listen to at home.
Yeah. And then you see, your Spotify numbers go up, and you can kind of chase the wrong god sometimes, because you can be like, let's just do that and do that, and then you kind of go, what? This isn't us. So Mark was like, our mission now is to just reclaim and do exactly the purpose of label, which is to get the clubs and the DJs to be supporting our music, and that was the objective. We kind of focused a lot less on signing music that had the first 1.2 seconds were good for streaming. It was like seed it into the culture, and then be obsessive about capturing that through getting those live plays, that user generated content, showing that to the world, and that's our marketing, is seeding our music into the culture, as opposed to going, well, Spotify like this.
Well, once again, it's coming back to that point you made earlier, right? Is that if you know Toolroom, you probably are a little bit more underground, a little bit more in the know of music than your normal person. So actually, is it the normal person that you're tailoring your music to, tailoring your marketing to? No. So actually, is the Spotify scenario what you want to chase? No. Who do you want to put your music in front of? The people that do go to clubs, go to your events. So the concept of getting the DJ support is perfect for what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. And then if that happens, it may well then go on and be successful to a wider market and therefore streaming. So like our biggest record is Fill My Needs by Vice.
Platinum, we'll mention it again.
Say it 3 times. That started off as a big club record. We didn't even think it was that big a record. Like when we had, like Mark will always say that wasn't one that we'd earmarked to be a hit, but it was undeniable because everyone was playing it. And then it became part of club culture for that period of time, and then people kept searching for it and listened again, and Spotify loves that, and boom, off it goes, and then it ends up and going up the playlist pyramid, like I said. But it stems from an authentic moment in club, not us trying to concoct a perfect streaming record. That's quite a soulless thing to do, actually. Like it's making great club records with moments that people latch onto, because it is like Toolroom's a kind of balance between it's underground for the club, but it's still within that quite anthemic moments within the club. It's the tracks you go home humming or going, oh, do you remember that one that went like this? That's a Toolroom record.
I don't mean to jump in. Do you think the thing of Feel My Knees is part of the success?
Probably. Well, there's a new one now called Phil from Leeds. So like, there's this guy from Phil, from Leeds. He's like I think he's like a rugby league player or something, and he's like, isn't it Phil from? We're like, okay. So that became a trend for like a few weeks. But I guess because it's got a hook, isn't it? It's got an identity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was also a bit, I think it was released at a very good time as well. Like just start of summer, it had that really sort of kind of uplifty, happy summer dance, because what 17, 18?
Yeah, I want to say 17 or 18.
Yeah, I think it was, because I remember, I'm sure it was 17.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Sure, we'll fact check later.
But
like, it just, as I say, like 1 minute it was like the casual track that you heard every now and again, because you had like things like So Serious come out. It was a really good year for music.
It was
for like
good.
the sort of kind of housey music. But as I say, that just boomed. And I think, as you say, I think in comparison to a lot of them, it did have that bit more of a commercial twang as well. Yeah, it did fit on the radio. You know, it wasn't it wasn't an instrumental. It had a bit of vocal on there, which obviously Radio 1, and you know, and also you had, I think at the time, you had like Mark Knight was joining Radio 1 as well. No, Kiss or something like that. So obviously he was able to sort of once again put the brand in. It's all that. It was a perfect storm in many ways, I think, for that.
It was, and all like so unplanned, like the way the success tends to be sometimes in music. It's never the ones you think. But it had all the ingredients, and we've been working Vice as an artist from scratch for 2 or 3 years. So
Amazing.
it felt like it was like building to that. I don't know if you remember one before that called Your Sunshine.
Yep.
That's a brilliant record. Like, and that one nearly tipped, but
Yep.
didn't quite. But again, because it probably just was like a little bit too hard for radio,
Yeah.
just a little bit too much. And then Feel My Needs was just that little bit more, that softer. But yeah, it's going back to those records, those club records. And that's why we're so proud that we won the Beatport thing 2 years in a row, best-selling. Thank you.
That's the best label.
Best-selling label.
Amazing,
last 2 years.
Amazing.
Because
especially in such a sorry to jump in, but as you said, like, you know, the concept of Toolroom was really defining and going in a specific genre and its niche, and then just to nail it, just to get it perfectly right. Yeah.
That was the strategy. It was like, let's win that, and then, you know, that for us is always the barometer of club and DJs, because it's the DJ store.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then we still obviously really care about people streaming our music, because that is our business. Like, more than anything, more than education, more than people. Like, that's our business. So I don't want to like play that down or like, but it's doing it in the right order, and like almost that success commercially, but just being a natural result of getting the culture stuff right.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what we mean by club first, algorithm later.
So say then someone, you know, you've got these massive tracks, you've got this really good brand now. Say someone actually wants to bring a track to you. You know, they're outside of the Tour Academy, so they're fresh. They just know you, they love you, they think, right, that is my sound. How would you want to, or how would Toolroom want to be approached?
I mean, there's a number of ways you can do it. I mean, we've got an account with Label Radar, which is how people submit demos now online.
Yep.
And that, in our sort of A&R funnel, that's like right at the top. That's like the volume bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still amazing because it's like democratized that access to labels in a way. You used to just be like emailing demos at toolroomrecords.com or just like almost like shooting out into the ether.
Absolutely.
With Label Radar, you submit, we listen to everything. Shout out my colleague Cal, who goes through them all. and we can't give feedback on it all.
Of course.
Thousands of them. But they'll get a response, and then the ones that feel close will then get filtered up to the next level up of A&R. And we have signed people through that route.
Amazing.
But I guess it's a wider question there about how do you get your music to your target label? And it isn't like just doing that alone, and I'm sure even Label Radar would say that isn't enough.
Absolutely, of course. Well, the next question was going to be, how would you make music? What would someone do to make music stand out to you or to Toolroom? What would you need to hear?
I mean, I guess I have to caveat this by saying I'm not an A&R. I'm not necessarily the best person to ask, but I'm around A&Rs enough to know like how they listen to music.
Fine. Yep.
And I think the first bit they do is like this almost, because their ears are so tuned, A&Rs. It's like, is this stylistically right for us? Like, because you get a lot of music, like house is a broad church.
Absolutely,
And what's right for Toolroom might not be right for Defected or Glasgow Underground. And it comes down to minutiae of sound choice. So there's this sort of quick listen. Is this Toolroom? Is this stylistically right? And I think you have to understand a bit about music to know that. If you don't know that as a producer, then you need to learn and almost like reverse engineer some tools and stuff and go, what's the kick? What's the groove here? So assuming you've passed that, they're going to be looking next, I think, for an idea, an originality, a hook. Yeah. That's what Toolroom is, as I said earlier, we're looking for hooks. We're looking for a moment that they can latch onto and go, that feels like it. That track has an identity, it has a personality, it's trying to achieve something and it's doing that thing. And then thirdly and least important actually is the kind of technical execution. Even like the arrangement can be fixed. Obviously the mixdown and mastering can be fixed, and we do that. We have really renowned artists, I'm not going to name names, who are really good at just the idea.
Yep.
And we help them get it over the line.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's valid.
That's the same for a lot of people, right? We've already mentioned, the difficulty in using a DAW these days is just absolutely insane. You need to be an engineer or sort of rocket scientist to work with Cubase. So as I say, the idea is one thing, but getting it on there is completely different. And this is why you get the sound engineers. And I'm very conscious of saying ghost producers, but the people that actually, if you're sitting down with them, putting your idea in there, just translating it, that's a very different game.
Totally. So that's the kind of, as I understand it, and again, I've spent years and years sat next to A&Rs. That's what they're listening for. Yeah. But I guess, like, how do you actually get it heard by them? How do you get to the point it's in their headphones? Yeah. And that's such a layered question, because I think that if you send a demo cold to an A&R and they'd have no idea who you are, it is really hard to get that person to listen, because if you think they might have hundreds of emails, because you can find people's email addresses. So I always say to people, definitely research who the A&R is, or A&R people in your target labels. Find them a bit online, assuming they've got a public profile. Most of them will be DJs as well. Yeah. So find their Instagram or LinkedIn, and then how we frame it with people is we call it give, take. So don't go straight in and go, can you listen to my demo? Yep. Like cold. Yeah. You go, you drop a like, you drop a comment on their post that's not necessarily to do with anything. Like maybe it's them DJing out. Or
great set, mate.
Yeah. Because we all check our comments. I don't care how big you are, how important you are. You check your comments and it's nice, and you go, oh, okay, and that name will register. And then maybe a couple of them, and you or a bit of banter, and then it's like a DM of like, I'd love your opinion on this. Yeah, mate, that's cool.
So once again, it's just trying to be a bit more creative to even get the support of someone else before you go to a label. Yeah, get that white label out there again. Yeah, 100%. It's not really something you really think of too many these days, really, is it?
That's that kind of old school, but I love that. And honestly, like if someone's playing a record and we respect that DJ, we are going to listen. Yeah. Trust me, that is that's gold dust.
So coming back to something that perhaps is a bit more in your arena then. Sure. And obviously that is the social media presence of people that you're looking to sign. And obviously we've already covered, a lot of even your marketing as Toolroom comes down to the artist now. What are you looking for when, let's say, for example, and I'm sort of going to take the question back slightly. You get a demo, you hear it, you love it. Then you look at their followers, or we'll look at their socials. What's the impact for Toolroom? And obviously I've asked this question across a lot of different people and got kind of the same but different answers. I'd love to get your opinion.
I guess there's nuances to this answer, because when we talk about signing a record, some people instantly jump to multiple singles, being on loads of our events. Realistically, we sign people on single deals for one track. Yeah, that's our model.
Pretty standard in
dance music.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that might be an album exclusive, or then one up from that might be going on a sub label like Toolroom Tracks. And in that context,
well, you also do a lot of compilations as well.
Yeah, we still do comps. Yeah. We don't social doesn't come into it. We sign with our ears.
That's beautiful.
We sign with our ears, not our eyes. But the only social media check would be for a decision on a single like that would be, are they posting anything controversial or horrible or
fine.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's just a kind of casual signing based on, we love that tune, that would sit really nicely on Leaders of the New School compilation, or even one up from that Toolroom Tracks. If you're someone who wants to get signed on a deeper level, like an Acel, Creasy, Tony Romero, socials come into it, but it's not numbers, and it's not even at this point of signing the execution of their social media, which could be sloppy. It's more a sense of, do you remember I said earlier about world building? That's what if an artist has and I use the word artist, is this person an artist that could build a world that could attract fans,
create that super fan, that community, 100%. Blah, blah, blah.
And those qualities come from it could be having it could be a personality thing, It could be an aesthetic thing in terms of like having a style.
Absolutely.
It could be opinions. It's a number of different qualities. It doesn't have to. They could be introvert, extrovert.
It's just a saleable personality, really,
Something, right?
Yeah,
It's some kind of like a hook, like the way you have a hook in a record. It's that potential that we're looking for. Can they be an artist, not just a producer?
Okay.
And it's fine if it's not ready yet. That's our job.
Yeah.
Like, we'll help. But that's the kind of way we'd frame the question, and we'd check their socials to be like, okay, what have we got here? What's the kind of story?
How much work do we need to do?
Yeah.
And it just, what do you? Okay, so then from your end, how would you help develop the actual artists themselves? Obviously, you've already mentioned about getting the content creators and the videographers and all that type of thing. But let's say, for example, because this is a conversation I've had a couple of times, and one of the most relevant ones was with Sylvia Montello, obviously ex-CEO of AIM. I know, and obviously I know you're good friends of her as well. But she was like, social media, sadly, it's a bit of a necessary evil in some ways. But there are many cases where, if you're an artist, and let's take an introvert, for example, you might be so focused on your music, and especially coming back to the point we were saying about earlier about the emotional involvement, people using it to get away from real world or to distract them from something horrible that's happened. You focus on the music, you make a banging track, you've got no social media presence, it's not what you focus on. Starting from scratch, in steps Toolroom, in steps Miles. What are you doing? Where would you start? And the reason why I asked this, to give some context, is if there's artists out there who are wanting to start building, what do they do? Where do they start? And from someone as experienced as you.
I think if you're like purely talking cold start, like zero, I think what I'd be doing is I'd be encouraging them. It's just getting into the habit of trying to make content, because there's such a mental barrier, I notice, particularly amongst introverts or also just like type A perfectionists, which often is the case of music producers, to then start making content, because it is a thing that it's not great at the start, and you get just like your tracks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to but you have to do it.
Yeah.
And it's how you frame success, because I think in that instance you can get caught up on, I've only got like 200 followers right now. I'd say to them, look, let's not worry about that. Success for you right now is 3 pieces of content per week. Yep. And even if it's the same,
whatever they are,
whatever it is, it could be the same thing. It could be the same shot, as I said earlier. That's where we're at right now.
Yep.
One setup, and it could be like you're not sure what kind of artist you want to be. Or talk about what do you love. You love creating music. Let's just document that. Do cool shit and document it. That's really what social media is. Like storytell around how you're making music.
Yeah.
I'd focus on that. But yeah, it is, that cold start problem is really hard, and it's incredibly common, I think, for music producers to struggle with this, and it can feel hard. And the other thing I'd say to new artists that are thinking this way, embrace the creator phase first. Like, get your music ready, because one thing you can do is have one track ready and even get it signed, but then have nothing for the next.
Yeah.
Breaking through as an artist is like punching through a wall. You punch in the same spot over and over again. You don't punch in different spots. You punch in the same spot. So what you need is like 12 months of music, relentless, consistent, that tells the same message really, and you build a fan base that way, backed up with some relentless content. So if you you embrace the creative phase and get your music ready first. Good record labels do help with social media content, but I do think there's so much good education out there now about how to equip yourself with those skills. Yeah. But you have to master it. As per Sylvia's point, I think it is a necessary evil. Like, I mean, I would love to be in a world where the music speaks for itself, and that's it. But unfortunately, we have to build online audiences, and that's the game. Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's come on to then, actually take a step back, should I say, to We Are Listening and Essel and everything like that. Tell us about where that, because obviously you mentioned that blossomed from the Toolroom Academy. Yeah. But what was the point? What's the concept of it?
What's the story?
Yeah.
Well, I think what it is like, we've been doing education, so we were kind of in the mindset of we can deliver talks and events, and we are like, we have a sort of rhythm of reaching out to producers to ask for their music. And it was my colleague Victoria. She was actually I always have a soft spot for Victoria, 'cause she was my first ever hire.
Okay.
When I'd just become like head of marketing at Toolroom, and I was like, okay, I won the case that we needed a full-time social media person. And I always remember she came in for the interview, and she'd like made this fanzine for Kerry Chandler's label Mad Tech. And I was like, right, you're hired. That's sweet. Because you obviously love the culture. I can get on with you. And it was her idea. So We're Listening is entirely hers. So she said, it was International Women's Day in about, I want to say 2018, something like that. And she was like, we don't get many demos from women. I think there's talent out there.
Yep.
Can I just do some kind of activation where we ask for music and we'll give them A&R feedback?
Yeah.
And we were like, cool, what are you calling it? She was like, We Are Listening. I was like, beautiful, love it. So we put the call out, and we had something like 80 demos in about a day.
Amazing.
So you're like, okay, the talent is there.
No, it worked then.
Yeah, exactly. And so we went through those demos systematically, and that for her was like, there is something here, there's this community.
Absolutely.
So the next thing was like, okay, how can we use the academy's sort of teaching infrastructure and like educational experience to put on something deeper? I think with We Are Listening, right, like it's always been a smaller boutique, hands-on, practical thing.
Yeah.
I think other brands do the kind of mass thing better. Like when it comes to diversity initiatives, there's probably brands with bigger reach.
Do you think? I was going to say, in what sense?
I think when it comes to pushing out a message globally about International Women's Day or better, equality in music.
The thing is, anyone can send a message.
That is true.
Something about it.
We were more practical.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that's, to me, is always Toolroom at its best. It's more like there's a problem, and putting up a post isn't really going to do anything about it, other than spread awareness and get us talking. But what we're actually really good at is give us 20 people in the room, and we'll help them.
I love that. As you say, it's not talking, it's doing.
It's doing.
Yeah.
Even and what I've said before about the superfan thing, like that lights a fire. That goes. Those 20 people leave going, oh my god, that was amazing, and they tell their friends. So we did an event in our HQ in Maidstone, and we invited 20, 30 female identifying people to our HQ, and we did a series of production workshops, social media talks, just like networking sessions. And one thing I always remember, and again, this is like Victoria's project, but we had all the girls like in one room, and it's like we have this like live room in our Maidstone HQ. It's like a kind of like mini club, like we built to sort of test music.
The white brickwork.
You've seen it. Yeah. And I walked in there, I think, to do the welcome, and it was just like all women. I was like, I got really nervous because you notice the gender imbalance. Because you're not used to in music. You're not used to it, like to being all women. In like we've done academy events that are like just happen to be all like pretty much all men minus a couple. And it gave me that moment of empathy that I probably shouldn't have needed. I should have just felt it anyway. That how you can feel suddenly quite uncomfortable when there's like 20 women, one man, or and then flip that. To, So you're like, okay, this isn't cool, and like creating that safe space. Absolutely. Where we put on and we can and then we can mentor them and I've got this picture actually from a We Are Listening event a couple of years later, and if you look at the talent in the room, it's crazy. So you've got SL, Maxine, Alicia, Hannah Lang, like all these, and I'm not saying they made it because of that. I'm not saying that, but it was more like a snapshot in time.
The foundations, amazing.
And it's kind of like the talent is there. Like so when you build a platform like that, you put some love into it. It's incredible the talent that's sat there that needs to be mentored.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's obviously not Maxine. It's a great name to bring up because she's actually been part of the Toolroom family for a fair few years now.
Yeah.
So I know she used to cover the radio show for Mark when he wasn't about. And obviously, once again, for quite a while, she was her and her big red hair. She was everywhere. So she's done phenomenally as well.
Yeah, she's great. I love Maxine. She's awesome. Again, very much met her through that. Like we were aware of her before, and had definitely had demos, and I don't know if I don't think we'd signed her before that, but we were aware.
Yeah,
of course. But it deepened that relationship when she came to We Are Listening, and you get to meet people that you can just tell, like people that are just like they're nearly ready.
Yeah.
They're musically, in their marketing, in their personality, and so we signed her for management, did an album. She's been on, done countless tours for us.
Yeah.
So she's great, and she actually ended up teaching an academy course as well that did really well. So it's like a nice full circle moment for me. So.
Well, you might have actually just tripped over the question I was going to ask a minute ago, and I'm going to ask now anyway. And that's obviously you're sort of kind of that picture in time was actually, how do you measure the impact of something like this? You're focusing on female presence in the the house music scene.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So apologies. In the house music scene.
Yeah.
And obviously, look, we are seeing some phenomenal names come through, and obviously I think that's been steadily growing over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But as a organisation, as an initiative that you're putting in, how do you measure your KPIs? How do you measure sort of kind of what it's doing? And how do you sort of kind of then take that to your team as well?
Yeah, it's hard because that's the thing about doing smaller sort of face-to-face things. Like how do you measure that impact? I don't know if you can. It's a gut thing. It's a heart thing.
Yeah.
It's, you see, obviously, I mean, I don't want to attribute their success to that event because that'd be too neat as a marketing narrative. But when you do see people like Sel and Alicia and Max and obviously Hannah Lang is now a global superstar.
Clearly doing something right.
Yeah, there's got to be something. But it's the kind of ongoing kind of friendships, and like there's girls that have met at those events that have then done collabs and set up labels and parties. It sort of spreads out, and you see it. And also, just when I'm at industry events, the one thing everyone always wants to talk to me about is We Are Listening. Like, so I know it's and the only press we've ever got that we've not pitched has been about We Are Listening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had like Forbes write about us.
Amazing.
We had obviously Mixmag have written about We Are Listening because it's the right thing to be doing. And sometimes that's what it's about as well. Like outside of metrics, you get together as a leadership team and go, is this right? Should we do? And it's like, we totally should be doing this. Because we've got the skills and we've got the kind of, I guess, the personality to do that type of small scale mentoring. Because not everyone could do it or would want to do it.
Even taken away from the size of it, once again, I think it just goes to further your brand and your personality of Toolroom, right?
Yeah.
As you say, you're creating this family, this community, the Toolroom family. We love it. Hashtag Toolroom family. But then obviously to then sort of go, let's pick up my sister. Let's big up the girls. Let's help them blossom. That whole thing just adds to everything you're doing and just builds on what Toolroom is known for. But so what have been the hard things about it though? Because obviously trying to build something that's not really existed in an industry where it is male dominated. Have there been any struggles or any hurdles you've had to overcome?
I guess it's more like, how do we expand that? And it's such a delicate area, this.
Absolutely,
because we went through this kind of a period of inertia with it, although we have got some plans to get it back this year, which I'm really excited about. But
you've also got, sorry to jump in, but you've also got plans to broaden it out to the LGBTQ areas, right?
Yeah, so it becomes a wider remit than just the gender thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, when we were talking about how do we push this on to be wider and more accessible to, like, say, even geographically, because unfortunately, like, this so far has only been a thing for people really in the UK and mostly in the South. And it was like, well, do we set up a label, and does that label just release women? And then you're like, is that actually the right thing to do? Because you're kind of making a sub brand that sort of sits over there and it's just for women, and there's that.
Yeah.
I mean, I got really like uncertain about where to take it, especially after Victoria left and she went on to become a nurse, which I'm really proud of her for. But I called up my friend Sydney Blue. I don't know if you know Sydney. She does a lot of work, and she's a Canadian lady that's like
Make sure you get that right.
that's a trailblazer in a space. And I called her up and I was like, what's your take here? Because I'd love to set up a label called We Are Listening, and I'd love to get more women signed. But should we not just try and get them on Toolroom? Like, because otherwise you're just going.
Are you differentiating?
That's the B team and that's the A team.
The men can't make that one.
Yeah.
Or you can't make that one. Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's better than nothing. So and she was like, look, it is a cool thing to do, but on reflection, if you, like, just sign more women.
Yeah.
And she was right. And so what I'm saying is, in these areas, you can make, with good intention, full steps.
Road to hell is paved with good intentions, Miles.
Totally, yeah.
It's a big deal if you make it a big deal, right?
Exactly.
And I suppose in a weird and wonderful way, and I'll probably just say what you're about to say.
Yeah.
But like, by making awareness, you're making awareness.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult, it's a bit of a trap.
It is, and I've seen other brands, as I say, with really good intention get this wrong.
You're never going to please everyone either, right? You know, one person, as you say, might be like, this is phenomenal. Thank you for giving us opportunity. Thank you for opening this door for us.
Yeah.
Another one go, why the fuck are you making a big deal? Why can't men doing it? It's just like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how people just find the offence where they know it.
Exactly.
Anyway.
and what's a real shame is when that then stops positive action. And,
absolutely, yeah. Which this absolutely is.
And that does happen. But yeah, it's, I guess, the next steps proceed with care and consideration. It's not something that I say I lead on, because it's a platform at the moment for females. Therefore, it's the women in the team that should run it.
Fair. I like that.
I'm there me and Stu and the other leaders of the business are there to find resource and champion it and make it and help.
I'm not going to paint the obvious that all the bosses are men, but get your missus in. Let's go. Yeah. Not fair. So what's next then? So obviously you mentioned you're expanding out the pathways with things like We Are Listening. You're looking at alternatives based on gender. But what's next for Toolroom before we come back onto you?
What, as a brand?
Yeah.
So I guess the most exciting thing for us is we've just launched a new London office space.
Have you now?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes. So shout out my colleague George, who's basically spent 6 months building an office. It's just off Old Street roundabout.
Amazing.
4 studios.
Please tell me you're going to do an event on the roundabout. Honestly, I'm sorry, I really hate to jump in. Do a launch point. They used to be. I used to go every time. It was the Magic Roundabout. Right?
Yeah.
And they used to do a vinyl only.
That's right.
Right in the middle, and it was the best event. Some of the best events I've ever gone to. And they stopped doing it, and it's all weird. And
really,
please bring it back.
Okay, all right, we'll talk about that. I have to find out how that went. Yeah, so it's off Old Street. So a lot of the sort of dance indies seem to be congregating around the same area, which is cool.
Well, it's down the road from Shoreditch and everything like that as well, right?
Exactly. So we, as you know, we've always been based in Maidstone, and I think we've kind of got to the point where we're just a bit bored of like the perception of being the scrappy underdog and the outsider, and we're like, no, we want to get in the thick of it. We want to be in London now. So it's big risk.
Best-selling label for 2 years.
Exactly. Come on, like exactly. And I guess we've got 4 studios. We've got James Herr in one.
Phenomenal guy.
Yeah, just unreal.
What an awesome sound engineer as well.
Just
producer, sorry, to take that back. Producer.
Yeah.
Phenomenal sound.
And he's just owning it at the moment.
Yeah.
And then his protege, a guy called Ellis Moss, who actually a year ago, had a number 2 record on Beatport himself, but he's now working with a lot of big artists. So we've got him in there as well. And then we've got Lewis, who actually is a Toolroom Academy alumni.
Amazing.
So he's now one of our in-house. So it's like a chain that goes down from
Yeah.
And the idea is, I think you kind of mentioned about demo submission and A&R. The pipeline, there's more of a sort of considered pipeline now. So we've got Label Radar at the top. You've got the Toolroom Academy as like a genuine talent funnel for those that are most serious. And then you've got our studios where the guys are going to more actively work A&R. So it's going to, I think that's the trend of where it's going, is like the idea of just waiting for a demo to turn up in your inbox passively.
Yeah.
That's gone, I think.
Okay.
I think it's about getting hands-on with artists, working with them in the studio, then being able to document the creative process from the point of records being made. So we've just launched those studios a couple of months ago. We're about to announce it in, but actually by the time this goes out,
man.
it would be announced on Music Week and stuff like that. So
Launch,
that's been our focus.
Launch party? Is there going to be?
Launch party.
You don't have to do it on the roundabout.
Well, the thing is, we've spent so much on the offices. I'm like, don't want to scum it up with all dance music
That's
people.
why you do on the roundabout. yeah, done.
Probably
Absolutely.
be kicked out of Old Street straight away.
I'm sure he'd be fine.
Yeah.
Just say it's Toolroom. It's fine. We're all good. We're all good.
Yeah. So
sorry. Yeah.
So that's it on the record side, and then on the academy side, we've been working on an artist development program, which is not production, but like everything outside of that. So all the things I've been talking about today in terms of social media and branding, and then going into networking, getting gigs, and understanding music law. So we've been working really hard on that artist development product and launched that. So they're the kind of, I guess, the two more kind of top level things we've got going on right now.
So the question I was going to ask you earlier, but actually could be quite suited to this, was your mix to main stage report.
Yes.
Now, has that, John, so one, let's tell, I'd love you to tell the audience what that is and the point of it. But what I'd love to, the kind of follow-up question is, what you found from that, or whether it was validation of considered thinking or whatever, it might be, has that changed how you approach in the future, or what you're going to be doing next in any way?
Yeah.
So let's start with what it is first.
What it is, yeah. So we commissioned some research. We spoke to 273 breakthrough artists.
Amazing.
Interviews to get an understanding of what obstacles new artists felt were in front of them to break through.
Okay.
I guess the headline statistic that we found was that over 3/4 felt they'd never make a sustainable career financially from music, which I think shows a degree of, I guess we're all a bit more...
It sounds quite sensible thinking,
it's sensible,
really, let's be honest.
Cynical?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the age we're in, right? People
yeah.
But equally, I always say, like, what bothered me about it was, when you're at that point of your journey, that's when your dream should be, like, up here. Like, you should be dreaming stupidly.
It's not about money, is it?
You should be going...
Music.
You should be, like... But picturing your life, like, you shouldn't feel pessimistic when you start out. That worries me.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, how, like, are you really pushing for the stars if you think you're never going to make it? So that was an interesting statistic, which we can kind of unpack, I guess, about, like, can artists break through now?
Also, where they're being fed that message from? You know, why are they thinking that?
Well, yeah, and I think it's a lack of gig opportunities. That's like there was a report actually. Resident Advisor did, I think they put it out a couple of weeks ago. I think they spoke to, their database, is 135,000 DJs. And I think they said 1.6% had, you saw this.
I read it. Yeah.
1.6% had like 3 or more gigs or something.
5 gigs a month. 5 gigs a month, yeah. That was
1.6%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think there's an interesting conversation to be had at the moment in this industry about democratization of the music making process and versus the actual chances you have to build a career.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because this industry increasingly relies on the creator segment. Like, you'll know as someone in finance, like, any business is any industry is an ecosystem of money going around it. And what money coming in often is coming from producers buying education or sample packs or plugins. That's a really big bit of money.
Yeah.
So we need them, but are there enough chances for them? And I think there's quite a big disconnect there, and I think it's a problem, and that I think is causing that cynicism.
It's also a bit of a chicken and egg situation, right? There's always this, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a cliche, but this sort of kind of mindset of, to get the big gigs, you need to make music. And I think unless you're Eddie Halliwell, that's kind of true.
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty much the only DJ that doesn't really release music that gets big gigs. But that's, he's had that technical ability for all this time, and he just gets it because he likes chopping stuff up.
Yeah.
But then you've got the battle of, okay, if I want to be a DJ, I don't know how to produce. We've already come on, discussed a number of times about how difficult it can be. Trying to create a track that's actually good enough to be released by a decent brand, to then actually be noticed by the fans, to be noticed by promoters, to then book you. You're talking a massive process before you get that one booking. And let's be honest, and then the sad fact of the matter is that even though, okay, if you're young, you're not thinking about right now. You're thinking, right, okay, where am I going to be in 5 years' time? Because that's when I've done the tracks, I've done this, and I've got to that point. So you are looking at that sort of next generation. But at the same time, we're in a world right now where a lot of the music venues, the smaller music venues or local music venues, are being closed down.
That's right.
Because the sad fact of nightlife is in a bit of a turbulent place. So what you're finding is the ones that would book the smaller DJs are now no longer existing. You've got the bigger promoters only booking the bigger names because they're much bigger events and they need to sell tickets. It's once again a bit of a cliche or a mindset maybe. So then you're not getting that, let's say, that step up perhaps. So then what you found, and obviously this is once again in that resident advisor report, is that you're getting a lot of these, and coming back to the tool room in a pub scenario, these pop-up gigs. But then once again, they're not really making money off of that. They're making money off of the social media.
That's right.
So actually, are they making money, a career from music? No, they're making a career from content making. And how does that sort of kind of blend in with what you're saying about this sort of as a mixed to main stage report?
Yeah, I totally agree with your analysis. I guess it's just a weird time where the older route to market of, as you say, make music, build fans, get gigs, is challenged by the kind of macroeconomic conditions of the fact venues are closing and people are going out less.
Absolutely.
And the interesting stuff going on in the event space, as you say, is like much smaller and more intimate and more DIY. And I think that's the key thing that we're trying to say with this report and our education is the amount of sort of DIY skills you need now extend to even putting on your own events potentially. Capturing them so well that it creates a want from an audience to go and experience that. And then being able to build an audience and community around that and get your opportunities. I think it's hard. It's so hard to get to the point where you're getting. I mean, I don't know, but I think we're kind of roughly the same generation. You used to be able to get gigs, not necessarily like having the best like financial life, but you could get gigs in bars and clubs doing warm up sets and either scratch that itch creatively or make a few quid. And I don't know if that world really exists anymore on the same level. And I mean, it's there, but it's just so much harder.
Absolutely.
And there's so many more people doing it that it's so competitive.
I always say, once again, it's a cliche, everybody's a DJ, right?
Everyone's a DJ. But yet people still do break through. And it's just, you have to, I just don't think it's going to come the same way where, like I said, work really hard in the studio, release music, build fans, get offers, suddenly get an agent going, here's $5,000 to play. It's going to be a case of grinding it out and finding hustle and being creative, even in the event space. And then turning that into fans. Because even with that,
like obviously one of the pop-ups was Lab 54, which kind of blew up. They did
we've worked with them before.
Oh, have you? Okay, because obviously they did the PR stunt with Ministry, the breaking into it and all that. I thought it was quite funny, but genius at the same time. But what you are seeing is so many now is actually now what is the let's say the curse of it potentially is it's just going to water it down again. Okay, people might still come, but eventually, look, you're doing pop-up gigs and the concept's cool. It's a bit of a fad. Do you think?
I think so. I mean, I guess I don't know. I come from a background. I love clubs. I actually love regional clubs sometimes, and some of the best nights of my life were in, Source Bar or River Bar in Maidstone. And I kind of knew at least to say, on nodding terms with everyone in the audience, the DJ could well have been a resident, and they knew what we liked. And I felt part of a community in my local scene, and that worries me so much. That's gone. Am I just being romantic and old-fashioned? Maybe, but without that, I just question how the opportunities are for new talent to break through. Or is it that things have changed so much that if people don't want that and they want to experience music and their creativity in a different way, and it's more about, do you know what, they're going to do a set at home and have a house party and film it, then that's that generation way of interfacing with dance music. Maybe. I just feel like, I don't know, that doesn't feel like the same sort of soulful kind of connection to music.
I absolutely agree. And like, so just as to give, so obviously I'm from a similar area to you, but like I go back to, so one of my sort of main clubs growing up was Amadeus in Rochester, if you remember rightly. For the ones at Amadangerous, as it was quite but like I remember on a Saturday night when I was quite young, I won't mention how old I was because I wouldn't have been allowed in. The resident DJ was EZ.
Wow.
Yep, so DJ EZ, like, was the Saturday night doing garage, and then you think he was just an all resident and blew up. But coming back to your point about how the generations changed, I think there's a couple of things to really take into consideration here. Is that, you know, there's this whole thing right now, I'm sure I've seen it on any sort of social media about, a picture of a rave then, a picture of a rave now, and you've got cameras up. But the thing is, right, it's become such a spectacle because there are only, let's say, the bigger gigs, in the grand scheme of things, right? The much bigger gigs playing, or the much bigger clubs, or whatever it is. They're putting on such a show, whether it's like, what's his, Diprajanu.
Eric
Prydz, thank you. Like his Halo events. You've got Universe has just opened, and what they've been doing. Like, Christ, they pulled Fisher down on a bloody skyboard, like a hook from the sky. Do you know what I mean? Of course, these kids are going to be getting their phones out. But do you think, and obviously coming back to the point of the fan, do you think fans have just changed as well? Like, it doesn't, as much as the clubs, yes, have had to update, they've had to put these big shows. I don't feel like the fans are as underground or as following a specific name or a specific label or that anymore. It's kind of, it has become this kind of, I'll listen to anything if I like it, but I'm no super fan of anything.
Yeah. Okay, so like I think two things to say is I think that have people changed? Yeah, I think for me technology has changed people, like in a sense that our attention spans and how we present our lives has meant that, as you say, we're looking for that visual moment, and I can then, you know, post that, and that's kind of how a surface in which I experience life and interact with my friends. So that's inherently changed us. Like if you go to see some of the sets that I loved back in the day, it could have been like, I don't know, like John Digweed doing this really like long, drawn out, beautiful set. There wouldn't be one moment. It would be a long life affirming experience. It's an
absolute journey. Yeah.
So you can't. So it's sort of. I wonder whether technology's changed our attention spans in that sense. The second point I'd make is I wonder whether the wins we've had from dance music getting so much bigger is that you lose a bit of that passion. Because I remember when I was younger and into dance music, people would laugh at me sometimes about it. Like you'd be on a train coming back from something and people take the mickey out of you. And then like the sixth form common room, like, oh, you're into that. That's shit, isn't it? And like it was a subculture. And you chose your subculture, and so when, as I said, when they started Toolroom in 2003, it felt like it was a smaller industry. You're just in it for the sheer love of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now it's got bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's great for our careers and our finances, and so we've benefited from that because I don't think I could have the life now that I do if dance music was the size as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But you lose then the
soul,
scene, the soul.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's
do.
still there, but the kind of dominant narrative of it is different. It's more spectacle and
appealed to the masses a bit more, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's a different beast.
Yeah, it's a sad thing. Is as you say, it's just change, right? Is it better or worse? It's just different.
It's just different. You can still find, you can still look and find for things that you love. I went to
Absolutely, yeah.
I went to Phonox a few weeks ago with my other half, and we went to see Terry Francis play. It was like a little celebration of Wiggle with this new brand called Ooze, and they've done like a partnership. So it's like young people going together with this old amazing brand. And
Amazing. Love it.
it was quite busy, not like rammed, but like just good people.
Yep.
And in a small club of like...
Much rather that.
Yeah.
Intimate, for me these days, ministry used to be a second home for me.
Yeah.
But now, honestly, give me an intimate gig with some good people who actually are there to listen to the music.
Totally.
And like, that's me all day long. But then
100%.
I am now 40. So
Yeah. Yeah, this is becoming old men moaning now, isn't it?
Yeah. The old white men talking about electronic music. So anyway, we are listening. So I think it's good really to come on to then what's next. Obviously, we've covered a bit of Toolroom. What's next for you, buddy? What are you doing? What are you working on?
Gosh, good question. So, what am I allowed to talk about, first of all?
Well, this is October.
Oh, yeah, October, okay.
Don't get me wrong, for everyone out there, you may notice we've been sweating a little bit.
Yeah.
That's because we are filming this in one of the hottest days of the year, in midsummer, knowing full well that we're going to release this probably when it's pissing down with rain, and everyone's going to be going, what's going on there?
Yeah.
But it's boiling here,
it's
trust
1,000
me.
degrees. So, what's next for me? So, there's some stuff that I'm running at with the Academy that I'm excited about. Like, we're really going to go after a Spanish language market. So Latin America.
Muy bien.
Yeah, see. That's all we got, isn't it? I said yes.
Como estas?
And you said good. So it's a booming market for music. So we just actually shot our first course in Spanish.
Okay.
So,
well, one thing I can tell you, ir de fiesta. I'm going partying.
Okay.
There we go. So
I should have used you for translation, really.
I'll answer for everything.
Yeah. So we're going to go after that that market, which is really exciting, and we're also going to be doing an event. So we do the Academy conferences are like amazing. We did one in Fabric a few weeks ago, so we're going to be looking to tour that around
of course.
the world.
Yeah, that was amazing. How did that go?
Oh, it's so good. Honestly, Ben, it was like unreal. That they're the moments that you cherish because it's getting that community together.
Yeah.
This guy actually showed me like he had a tattoo of it because we have like class numbers called TA00. Like, so we started on 001 obviously, and then on quite a few now. So he had like TA21 something.
Oh, I love.
Yeah, so you're like, it's just unreal. It's
amazing.
unreal. So we're really going to go after that, and then I guess I don't know. For me, it's like the other bit of the business that we do. We've not talked about is we run record labels for other people. That's all. So we help run Danny Howard's label, Nothing Else Matters.
Amazing.
We run. We used to run Nick Fanciulli's Saved.
Fantastic.
So
it used to, it's because obviously Jamie's also launched 03, hasn't he?
Yeah, 03.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. We have Love and Other. We have Fool's Paradise. So Amplified is what that business is called.
Yeah.
And we really want to grow that because
Absolutely.
there sometimes comes a point with like one brand like have we got as far as we can with Toolroom? I don't know. I don't think so. But another thing we can do is apply everything we've learned and set up other labels and work with other people. So we're really going to run at that as well.
I think not to sort of kind of come away from yourself, Miles. I appreciate you're my guest today, but obviously looking at Mark Knight, the front man in many ways of Toolroom. You compare what's been achieved, in comparison to, say, Hot Creations from Jamie Jones, Solar from Solano, like both independently great labels and releasing some banging tunes. But the difference in what's been achieved by Toolroom in comparison, and obviously hearing now that you're actually helping other superstar DJs as well run their own, that's such an accomplishment. Like, honestly, it really says so much for Toolroom.
Oh, thanks, man. We run hard. We have a great team. We've always and the guys. They have always treated it like a business. Not to say those other people haven't, but it's some people view the label side of things as like just the kind of necessary evil when you go and make the money on live. Whereas for us, it's like we run it like a proper record label.
Well, it also feels like a bit of a passion project as well.
Yeah.
It's not just a label. It's not just a business. It's something you're generally passionate about. And let's be honest, you wouldn't be doing these initiatives if you didn't have that passion. It's that simple.
No, we our team, they bleed Toolroom. Like they've been there. Like I've been there for like in this latest stint since 2013. So what's that? 12 years. And I'm like still considered a bit of a newbie. Like there's people that've been there for like 20 years.
Oh wow.
So we've been to weddings, funeral. We've been in each other's lives for a long time, and what's cut through all that is like we've built this brand together.
Amazing.
And it really matters to us. We really care about it deeply, and credit to Mark and Stu. They've always been very generous with allowing us to try things and build things and not be like hoarding and protective. They've let us run with our ideas, and so you feel
faith
like
in the family, right?
it is, and then you feel like more invested, and
absolutely, yeah,
and you feel like it's yours.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. So unless there's anything specifically you feel the artist or anyone out there should know, I do have one last question for you, buddy. It's a question I like to ask every one of my guests.
Okay.
100 years time, people will look back and hear the name Miles Shackleton.
Yeah.
What do you want that to mean to them? What's the legacy you want to leave?
That's such a good question. Gosh.
Well, thank you very much.
I guess, I mean, there's a lot of things in my career I'm proud of, but if I'm someone that's considered who's innovated creative education and enabled more people to express themselves creatively through their work, I'd be happy with that.
That's a beautiful thing, yeah.
I mean, in my family are all educators. Like my mum was like a special needs teacher, educational needs teacher. Got family that are like academics. So like education's in my blood. And also, without wanting to get too deep, my grandparents like came from like a tiny little farm in Ireland, and then in 2 generations I'm swanning around working in a record label. And the reason that's happened is because they believed in education.
Absolutely.
And my mum got a degree, and then she passed those values to me. And so learning changes lives.
And now you're passing on to every one of your students.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it, mate. I love it.
But obviously, creative education is a different thing. But I think, as we said earlier, it's been a privilege to enable people to express themselves creatively.
Absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. So now you've got 7 little Miles Shackletons running out there. You've taught all music, all part of the family.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Ben,
I really appreciate it.
Nice one.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Beats Learning. A massive thank you to Miles for giving us such an open and insightful look into the world of Toolroom and what it really takes to build a label that lasts. If you found it helpful or inspiring, do us a favour, hit like, subscribe, and send it to someone who's trying to make their mark in music. Thanks for listening. I'm Ben Davenport, and I'll catch you next time on Beats Learning.